Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second part of the webinar series, Invisible Patterns, Blocking Soulmate Love, even for the most conscious spiritual singles. Sorry, that was the slide for part three. So you know what's up and coming. This is the slide for part two. And today we're going to go and work with the attraction mirror, which is a download that I had about how we could actually really understand the invisible patterns that we keep creating or keep reenacting. And so let's go ahead. So next week or the week after that, I will be presenting the animus, all the teachings about it, and make it very practical, give a lot of examples as well. And part four is actually about the invisible habits, the invisible patterns that are, unconscious habits that you run that you don't even see. And that was like a real breakthrough for me and for my then business partner, Elle, that we had those invisible habits and patterns and how we then had to break them. So, what are we going to do today? It's very concise. It's about what is chemistry and what does it do to us? What do we perceive as attraction? But also then how do we do an attraction mirror audit? And of course, you will be watching and finding out for yourself where you are in the attraction mirror. So our intention is to inspire you about possibility and also that you learn to recognize patterns because without pattern recognition, we are like blind in a labyrinth. Yeah, so when I started this specific program, I really had a very strong feeling that a lot of people have lost their faith in believing that soulmate love exists. And especially because a lot of people have done a lot of work and it feels like it's never ending. And how come you do the work and you still don't attract the soulmate love? And so today I want to explain the core premise of actually of everything that I've studied and how I came to the conclusion, and Elle also believes this, and this is why we did the, accountability work together, that there is a field of infinite possibilities, and that in that field there is a soulmate love, and it exists as a potential for everybody. Yeah, for everybody. Everybody has access to the same field of possibilities, including soulmate level love and all miracles and blessings that we want to create or experience. But this level of soulmate love does not arrive as something that we're going to seek outside of us, that we're going to strive for. It arrives because of the law of resonance, because it will mirror who we are. And a lot of you understand that already. So I'm preaching to the converted, as they say. But but if you look at love and the dynamics that happen when we find ourselves in a chemistry situation with somebody, then a lot of things come into play. But very often people also use the word soulmate very quickly. And this is something that I believe that we should not do anymore because as long as you're struggling, as long as you're learning a lot of lessons, you are not a vibrational match to your soul, and thus you are not going to be attracting or going to be experiencing a soulmate level love. The good news is that it's all within your control, and nobody can stop you from becoming a vibrational match to your own soul, and thus a vibrational match to soulmate level love. But the main important thing is that a soulmate is not somebody out there you attract through effort. We meet it when our inner state of being is a vibrational match to the consciousness of our soul's true identity. And so it is very important that we get very curious about what is our soul's true identity and what is the consciousness of our soul's true identity. So, those of you who are really, obsessed about reality creation, we exist in a field of infinite possibilities, and every form of relationship already exists there as a potential. And so, we really believe, those of you who are really obsessed about it and you're experimenting, you're being the scientist, this is not wishful thinking. It's really how reality works. And you will see people often manifest things that they don't have resistance to. Parking spots, tickets to their favorite group because they're already in the joy zone, they're in the receiving zone already. Maybe amazing career opportunities, even manifesting big lottery wins. Yeah. So I'm studying, I'm really, following Timothy Schultz and, listening to all the people who are now manifesting, winning the lottery. And I mean, really, so all of us have certain lessons and certain things that we struggle more with. And so if you're here and you're thinking, you know what, I've worked so hard at love, please pat yourself on the back because you're in the right place, because there's still a potential for you to manifest and experience your soulmate love even in this lifetime, because we have infinite choices, there are infinite timelines that we can access, and there's infinite relational expressions. So again, if you watch part one, a soulmate is a very different type of relationship. We don't use that word too easily. It is someone you are deeply compatible with on a soul level, not on an ego level, soul level. Love feels easy, mutual, and natural. So, and a lot of you will think easy, mutual, natural. I've never experienced that. So that is already, of course, where we come in the families that we choose, and where we actually really don't have this template of love being easy, mutual, and natural. And it actually, when you are aligned with your own soul, you feel like you're coming home to yourself, and there's no battle, there is no conflict, there is no ego battles to win. So if you understand that, then I want to take you on a journey to really look at the attraction mirror. On the vertical level, we look at a scale of consciousness, according to David Hawkins, and on the horizontal level, we look at chemistry. And if you look at the red line is how I see often people in the personal development zone. They start to raise their consciousness, and then they come into, let's say, this place called courage, which is where they take responsibility. They understand that they are creating their lives. They are very responsible for their relationships. And in this area is where they get stuck. And then because they've done so much work working on themselves, they start to give up hope. And then boom, they go back into very often apathy, or saying, well, I don't really need a relationship, and maybe it's not for me in this lifetime. And this is where I was for many, many years. I literally was, yeah, mostly around here in apathy and not believing. And so if you're here and you heard my story in part one, you know that actually when you're here, when you're in this level of what I call the fourth zone, it is not because love or soulmate level love is not there for you. It's just when you're here in the fourth zone, you will not believe in possibility because it doesn't feel safe, and your level of consciousness is just not at the level where you can actually receive the intuition and the guidance of your soul. Yeah, so basically, the only way that you can receive the guidance and intuition from your soul is to go into the power zone, and where you have to learn the self-mastery lessons and initiations to actually go from responsibility to actually becoming a vibrational match to your soul's consciousness. Yeah. And so the real thing is what I've seen working with a lot of groups and a lot of clients, and really being obsessed about manifestation, and how some people just manifest like this and some people struggle, and how you see them changing when they start to go into, let's say, instant manifestation, is really where I see that the people that are in flow and doing instant manifestations, they are on a different level of consciousness. And that is what I call the receiving zone. So this whole lecture or webinar series is to actually inspire you about how you can go into the receiving zone, how you can really enjoy the initiations and self-mastery of the power zone, and how to recognize the fourth zone and have compassion with yourself. So I came up with this idea of actually really, if you look at this map, there's going to be three zones, yeah? So you have low chemistry, where you meet somebody and there's literally nothing happening. And in that zone, you have very different types of relationships than when you are in high chemistry. Mixed chemistry is a different story. Mixed chemistry is, I feel, when people are on and off with each other, like they project, in the beginning, they might have a lot of projection about a person. And then when they get to know the real person, they project their whole negative shadow onto that person. And so they have this War of the Roses type of chemistry going on here. Whereas high chemistry could be this person is so carrying the ideal of what you would like to have a relationship with. A person could be the idealized animus or somebody who triggers a lot of chemicals in you. And that is where a lot of different types of relationship dynamics come in. So, why is chemistry so important? Let's define what chemistry is. So, chemistry in itself, the sparks, makes our patterns invisible because it temporarily shuts down the brain region responsible for clarity. So, when chemistry is high in love, we have the amygdala that is active, that is the threat and emotion center. And the prefrontal cortex, logic, pattern recognition, and long-term thinking is offline. It's not working. This is neural hijacking, they say. And it's funny, those of you who are actually parents, I think this, they actually say when they do the brain scans on parents that parents have this specific pattern for a few years in the beginning when they have babies. So literally they are absolutely obsessed and in love and in adoration with babies. Of course, we're talking about healthy parents. And so, so it doesn't matter what the baby does. The baby can poop all over you. It can literally throw, basically, break stuff and you're still, oh, it's so cute. So of course, this doesn't really happen in real relationships. So this is just so for you to compare the two different types of chemistries. Like when we have high chemistry, so think about the last time you had a lot of attraction or chemistry with somebody, you will not register a red flag. So this is very important that we actually understand this, that when we have high chemistry with somebody, we actually do not see the red flags. We just don't see them. We justify so-called, let's say, flags. We're just gonna, talk it over, maybe put some kind of nice explanation over it. And we will feel maybe longing, or maybe we will see some inconsistencies, but we'll say, oh, but this is actually normal because I'm so in love with them or I'm so infatuated with them. And also, this familiar feeling of chemistry makes it feel so fated. Yeah, it feels so magical. So, so it's very important that you know that when we're then in the lower consciousness, we're talking about the fourth zone. This is where people do not take responsibility. This is where people are always looking outside of them to actually look at the cause of what they're feeling. Then we have a very, very potent concoction of difficult relationship dynamics. So let me explain. So when you look at these emotions, shame, guilt, apathy, grief, well, that doesn't sound good, does it? Fear, desire, anger, pride. These are the patterns that most people run. And what we want to do is we want to get out of them. I don't know why. Why am I not? Okay, so my thing doesn't run again. So I need to go to the next slide. So when we're in this zone, the power struggle zone, the fourth zone, this is the fourth zone, up until 200, 199, we have a lot of invisible red flags within ourselves. So this is very important. This was the breakthrough for me and Elle, that we saw that we were the invisible red flag, because although we were high in our work and in our career and in our life and in the purpose of our work, as soon as we went into relationships, we were down in the fourth zone. And in the fourth zone, a lot of the habits and habitual things that we do are actually the invisible red flags. And so when you look at it, you think, why is this? I know everything. So why is this happening? So basically, the brain mistakes chemistry for love, because evolution wired us this way because we are here to survive, yeah? Those parts of the brain that create this, they are wiring us for survival, and the survival gives us intensity, and when something is felt as intense, we think, oh, this must be important. So that one person that you're attracted to, they feel more important. And also, of course, we have to be attached to this person because we need them for survival. And because it's familiar often, and especially with, let's say, certain attachment styles where you are still longing for the love of a certain parent or caretaker that wasn't really available or consistent, it feels safe. So even if it's painful. So because even if it's bad or it's very difficult and painful, it still feels familiar. And so you're still going to repeat this pattern because you haven't healed this wound. Yeah, so a lot of you understand this, you know this. This is very like common knowledge now. So, and when we then think, the subconscious concludes, wow, it's so intense, it must be meaningful. This must be something special. Yeah, when we say meaningful, we mean special. This person is special, it's different. And the important thing is we need to come back to earth and say, when something feels special and something is so-called meaningful and it feels so extraordinary, it doesn't mean that there's compatibility. Just because we feel all this intense chemistry doesn't mean that it is safe because it is familiar. It just means that we were wired like that from our family homes or from what we've seen. And most importantly, and we know this rationally, but the chemistry can take over. Chemistry does not equate to love. So really our nervous system isn't looking for happiness. Our nervous system is looking for what is familiar. Or if you really look at the neuroscience, our nervous system is matching us with what we are wired to experience as love or longing or wanting or need. Yeah. So if we were wired to see love as longing, this person isn't calling us back, they are not really committing to us, or they just really, one day they're hot, the other day they're warm, or after 3 months they ghost us. We recognize it and it feels familiar. And then our nervous system says, oh, wow, this feels familiar. And then you basically, because you haven't finished that lesson, you keep looking for this type of person because you want to finish the lesson. So for those of you with anxious attachment, and I was one of them, if early bonding involved inconsistency, emotional unavailability, you had to prove yourself, you had to wait long and hope that this person is finally gonna accept you, finally gonna completely embrace you, then you are wired to actually basically expect dopamine from this, basically insecure attachment bond. Others would call it trauma bond, probably. And your dopamine and oxytocin gets released when you encounter these type of dynamics or these type of people in your life. So all of this you can see means chemistry is not great, but it doesn't mean that this is gonna stay like this because in the higher levels of consciousness, chemistry shifts. So when we are wired in dopamine and oxytocin with people who are unavailable, who are inconsistent, we can only feel, oh, this is what love feels like. And it's not because we are crazy. It is because we can only accept, believe, and surrender to what we actually are feeling. This is what Dr. Joe says, right? And so, and because we were wired like this in early relationships, you can be a PhD in chemistry and love and dating and relationship dynamics. But if your body is going to take over in terms of how the chemistry is making you respond, you're going to, your rational mind, the PhD you is going to be gone, is not going to be present. And so the way that I can explain it, the way that it worked for me is like literally I was studying everything about relationships. I was studying with Tony Robbins with his strategic intervention coaching program. I went onto a relationship energy healing course and I understood everything about the attachment styles and the inner child. I did a lot of clearing work. I was studying the Jungian work about relationship and the archetypes and projection styles. But I didn't make the click that I had to actually work with my body. And my body only felt love when I was in high chemistry with people who were not available. So this big wound that often we have, let's say father-daughter wound or mother-son wound, yeah, these typical things, they are how we feel when we meet certain people and they activate that in us, and then suddenly we're obsessed with this person. So this is really where I can see and I can really recognize this as a pattern that was running me for so long. You can have a whole neural network for the library of consciousness around relationships and consciousness in your head. But once the chemistry takes over, you sort of like the chemistry has this almost like so powerful that you have to go with it because of course, we've also been super hypnotized by a lot of movies and songs and poetry and blah blah blah. So we have to be honest here that is a part of us that is like, oh gosh, I have to follow this chemistry, even though, I have no clue where it's going because this is why I'm alive, right? It makes you feel alive. And there's nothing wrong with it because actually I can tell you that when I realized that I didn't even know what self-love felt like, that actually the reason why I was stuck for so long is that I could only recognize love when it was given to me. Meaning, when people were giving me attention, the boyfriends, the men, when they would treat me in a certain way, then I felt love. But it was so fraught with fear that they would leave or that I would sabotage or I would do something where they would abandon me. Abandonment is a big, big word that I would have so afraid of. But now I believe there is no abandonment. But of course, then I was completely afraid of it. So that when I was so caught up in love comes from somebody outside of me that I literally had never wired myself to feel love for myself as an independent person, as an independent woman, that it was always given to me by men. And of course the love of my friends and family was so normal. That was not where my wound was. My wound was I am just not good enough for men. The good men, the great men that I was in love with. So this is really where I want to hold the mirror up to you. It's like if you are finding yourself in a dynamic of what love feels like, if you're gonna join the membership that I'm gonna introduce to you later, it's really about pinpointing how do you recognize love and how can love be felt and be reenacted outside of relationship with like a love person because it took me a lot of time. It took me at least 6 months. It took me 6 months to rewire myself to not be in this love is outside of me. So I'm not saying this is easy. I am saying this is real work. And those of you who do meditation work, breath work, I don't know, somatic work, you know how long it takes to recondition your body. And it's a constant fight between the part of you that is looking for love outside of you or looking for satisfaction or for something outside of you to actually saying, no, I'm going to look inside myself. Yeah. So this is a whole different mind warp. But I think really what we need to come to terms with is that high chemistry is what we are wired to be looking for when we're in the dating market. Yeah. But chemistry and high chemistry especially is just is incomplete information. It doesn't tell you that this person is your soulmate. Definitely not, because a lot of you will have had high chemistry in the areas where there was no soulmate level love. All these karmic teachers showed up and they were really high chemistry. So consciousness can change chemistry, especially when we take charge of our consciousness and our evolutionary growth. We will learn how to regulate our nervous system. We will learn how to like recognize the dopamine chaos and the dopamine addictions in us, especially from, oh, has he texted me back? Oh, when is he texting me? Or, are we going to spend the weekend together? Or blah, blah, blah. Did he like my post? Whatever. Oxytocin, this whole oxytocin trap, I will tell more about it later. I think you will absolutely recognize how oxytocin is a trap, especially in early dating, and also how attraction becomes the oxytocin starts to change when our consciousness changes because the oxytocin is no longer about another person. The oxytocin is much more about a deep self-awareness, and we're more bonded to, I would say, our inner being or our higher self. And whatever is then given to us from another person, it's almost more like a plus. And attraction becomes more calm because we're no longer projecting, because we can withdraw projections. We're much more in the prefrontal cortex and maybe sometimes even more in intuition or our body when we're resonating with somebody so that we can actually feel what this person is about. And attraction is less anxious and addictive. So, and when you go there, the higher the levels of consciousness, the more it feels like real, true soulmate level love, the way that I would, that of the teachings of Catherine Ellis that I'm following, which is it has to be soulmate level love is almost like you're connected to the well-being of the universe. Love is there. Love is easy. You are loved. You are worthy. It's the universe loves you, even if you are absolutely doing nothing. The universe is stable and it's giving you all this admiration, appreciation, and all this guidance, but we have to be open for it. And and it's absolutely not boring just because we're missing the crazy roller coaster ride. It's not addictive in that negative way, and it feels much more regulated. So sometimes I think when you haven't felt this type of quiet, stable, grounded love, you can actually really think that this type of love is boring. So I can tell you, for instance, when I was still trapped in this chemistry trap, I would look at, let's say, stable couples, and I would really say, oh my God, way too boring. Oh my God, I cannot imagine that I would just be living in this house and not be like thinking about big dreams of like, I don't know, travel or, oh my God, just have 3 kids and be with like in this home for the rest of your life. It really, really stifled me. Yeah. But on the other hand, I can also see that there are couples that are breaking that pattern, that really there are couples that are also nomadic, they're traveling with kids, homeschooling kids, maybe building up new communities with kids. And maybe that was always me, but on this at the same time, what I think was mirrored to me is that sometimes that stability of love didn't match my experience of what love was, which is love is maybe a bit dangerous. It's a bit unpredictable and uncontrollable. Yeah. So I just want to give you that mirror. Maybe it will give you some insights as to how you are experiencing love. So in the membership format that I'm going to be running, I create a lot of space for us to really delve into these questions without it getting too analytical, maybe more experiential, so that what you're hearing here is just like a nugget for you to take home so that you have all these insights and light bulbs going off. But what I really want to bring home is that chemistry is just a neurochemical spark. It's a lot of chemicals interacting with each other. They can be addictive. And but love in itself, if you want to go for soulmate level love, it can only come from a regulated state of consciousness. Yeah. So if you look at chemistry and who is triggering your anxiety or your addiction or your oxytocin or your projections, it tells you a lot about your inner workings. Whereas if you take into account consciousness, Consciousness will tell you who you can actually build your amazing dream relationship with. If you leave it just to chemistry, it's just going to be like projecting something on somebody who is going to reject it. They don't want your projection. Yeah. So again, it's about all our consciousness. So how do we go from the force zone to the power zone to the receiving zone? So when I work with people, it's always looking at the patterns that they have in the force zone. Then we try to not try to, we give them like the work to actually go into the power zone all the time. And some people pick it up very quickly. And for some people, it's a battle because going to the power zone is really taking responsibility for everything. It's literally you go from victim consciousness to actually I am the creator. Even if it was for 1%, I attracted everything. I was a vibrational match. It was active within me. And so this is why a lot of people never go to the power zone because especially when you've had very disappointing relationship dynamics. Let's say you had a divorce or your boyfriend cheated on you with your best friend or he cheated on you and he took all the money. Like I've seen these things in with even some of my girlfriends, yeah? So it's like sometimes when we enter into these horrible karmic relationships, it really, really takes so much strength to really go into the power zone because in the power zone, you take responsibility. And without that responsibility, you cannot create anything different. And so this is why when I work with people, the work is really for at least 2 to 3 months to get them out of victim consciousness, to actually really see where they're acting like a victim. Because I was acting like a victim. Elle and I were acting like victims, and we were teaching this, and we still didn't see it. So it's so the language that we use, the ways that we immediately fill in certain interpretations. The victim consciousness is so deep. So this is really the first destination is to get out of the victim consciousness, to see the patterns that where you're responsible for your part, and then to actually help them initiate and master themselves so that they can become a vibrational match to the consciousness of their soul. And the consciousness of the soul is where we become one with all possibilities and where we become super intuitive and we receive the guidance from the universe. Yeah. So again, um, I think the most juicy stuff is always happening in high chemistry because in low chemistry, everybody's in the friend zone. Nobody cares. Everybody's like, "Oh, he didn't text me back, but I really don't care. Oh, they left me, but I never loved them anyways." It's in the high chemistry zone where all the drama happens and where all of us have our karmic teachers. Yeah. So the four main neurochemicals behind chemistry is the dopamine, and a lot of you have been learning about dopamine addiction. That a lot of the social media and the apps that we run and everything is triggering us with dopamine. We are much more dopamine driven that we dare to admit. And actually, this is also in relationships. This is also when we're dating. This is maybe when we're speed dating, or maybe when we're saying, okay, I'm going to give this person a chance. I'm going to have a coffee with them for 2 hours. And if your dopamine isn't triggered, maybe you're not going to be interested. So this is very interesting that actually we are so addicted to certain chemicals and we don't know it. So this is the second neurochemical. It's called norepinephrine. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Nora, I don't know how to pronounce it. I literally listened to several YouTubes and I was like, I still don't know how to pronounce it. So, anyways, I need to maybe get a tutor or something. But it's the adrenaline of attraction. Oxytocin we all know about because I think women have a lot more oxytocin than men. So this is a very dangerous thing that women can. I would not play with it because I knew I'm the type of person, and if I have even a kiss with somebody, I think that I'm bonded with them. Yeah. So some of you are less attached like that, but I know men and women who literally with a little bit of like kissing already feel bonded to a person, and it's all because of oxytocin. Serotonin is another chemical. So what happens with dopamine? Dopamine creates obsession, focus, fantasy, and motivation to pursue. It is very often not even about the reward, it is about the expectation of reward. And this is why I think when, they've done the research where they say, when you train, I think was it birds or rats or something, to actually to go and push a button, and the dopamine hits are higher when the food doesn't come out consistently. So the less predictable the food was from that slot machine for this animal, the more addicted the animal became. So if you see the animal brain in that research with the human brain, the least predictable partners will trigger the same dopamine. So if you understand that, then you need to get yourself together and say, I know this is dopamine. This doesn't mean that I'm in love or I'm obsessed or I'm that person is the person that I should be with. It is just unpredictability that creates this dopamine loop in your brain that creates this obsessive addictive feeling. This specific nor something creates the butterflies, it creates the hyper alertness and creates emotional intensity. And so the body doesn't understand it. So this is the adrenaline of attraction. The body just thinks, oh, this must be romantic excitement. It must be but at the same time, it is the same as emotional threat. So but the body doesn't distinguish it. So it feels like we're excited. Yeah. So this is why we then also think, okay, the more stable people that come into our life, they don't trigger that in us. And then we think, oh, it must not be them. Oxytocin is very important, and I have it in red here. Oxytocin and especially for women, it creates attachment in a very early stage, and also trust even when it's not earned yet. And I completely can see that just because I know somebody for a week, or I've been like talking to them about certain subjects. You feel like, oh, I can trust them because they're so emotionally intelligent, blah blah blah, and it creates a sense of we. So it makes you feel bonded before you actually even know somebody, and especially if there's great sexual chemistry or sexual compatibility, which doesn't mean anything for emotional and spiritual and intellectual compatibility, then your oxytocin can go really, really high. So these are the difficult relationships, and this is where we need to have a lot of self-awareness to be able to rein ourselves in. So, especially just to summarize oxytocin, just because the bond feels real and it feels more alive than anything that you have ever felt, it will still feel real even if the relationship isn't safe, it isn't mutual, this person really doesn't care about you, or it's not even sustainable. So, this oxytocin just throws that out of the window. So the fourth one is really about serotonin, and our serotonin drops when we are having high chemistry with somebody, and this means we become obsessed. We keep thinking about that person, and we become emotionally dependent on that person. And I've been there, and I literally know how this feels, and this is why it's so important to know about these levels of chemistry that come into play, and especially when we're in the fourth zone, they have a very, very difficult consequences. And it's very important to know that when you're in the fourth zone, you are actually able to go to what I call the receiving zone, or the flow and more what is it, more easy relationships in the power zone. But when you are really wired into the consciousness of fear, desire meaning I want it but I cannot have it, or anger or pride, I'm better than them, or they should know, you need to fix you. It's not about me, it's about you. or you're in the low self-esteem of guilt, shame, and apathy and grief, if you're there, it is very difficult to actually access the level of integrity that is required to go to be becoming a creator. And this is why we can actually look at the attraction mirror and we can say there is actually four zones. And I'm gonna explain that. So you have the fourth zone with the inward directed focus and the fourth zone with the outward directed focus. And I will explain that later. The power zone, again, self-mastery, and the receiving zone is mastering alignment with your soul. So if we just look at the three levels of chemistry, low chemistry means friend zone. You don't really care. Mixed chemistry is hot or cold. People start to have like wars, power struggles. They're like projecting things onto persons and then really disappointed when this person doesn't match up. And then all in the back of our mind, we are having this idealized, oh, in the beginning of the relationship, they were like this, but oh, now they're really not giving me that anymore. And in the lower states of consciousness, you always try to control the other person to become this resource for your self-esteem or for your safety or for your feelings of love or feeling adored or whatever it is that you want. Yeah. In high chemistry, we are in this, yeah, virtual reality. We're in this projection we don't even see because we have too many chemicals running, especially in the lower zone of force consciousness. So to give an example, if you have high chemistry, so we're talking about this red table, and you're in the fourth zone, it feels like instant spark, intensity, obsession. I've never felt this before, emotional highs and lows. So if you feel this beautiful, a lot of love songs are about this area, yeah, like I think this, what is it, this girl from Ipanema, this very famous Brazilian song is probably about that. It's like a lot of songs are about this ideal, this person, you just see them, love at first sight type of stuff. It's completely, when you're in the fourth zone, you can really say it's chemistry and it's lack of consciousness. And when, of course, this person doesn't give it back to you, you really are going to have a roller coaster because this object of admiration or attention isn't there for you. But because we're in the high chemistry and fourth zone, we think, oh, this must be love because only this person makes me feel this way and I cannot live without them. So and I had to think about when I felt like this, when I felt like this. And in the beginning, it was very, very, very innocent because it was like, let's say, infatuation with Superman, it's Christopher Reeve, yeah. So that was like really innocent. But then when we went into relationships and it was high chemistry and force zone, high chemistry in fourth zone is where people break up and then they come back again, and they break up and then they come back again, and then they break up and they come back. This was my first relationship, and some of you were there when I was in my first relationship. It's literally on and off, on and off, on and off, and such high chemistry. You cannot live without each other. You cannot live without or with each other. And it's literally because I don't think there was internet then. So I literally would have had to go to, I don't know how many libraries to study for years to understand that I could evolve my consciousness. Yeah. So I was in therapy then, but therapy was very much, I think, just it was talk therapy. It wasn't about neuroscience. It wasn't about that I was responsible. So for me, therapy didn't work. And what I ended up doing here in the high chemistry and force zone is blame the other person. The other person had to change. And this went on for a long, long time, even though I knew this material, yeah, because my chemistry was like making me turn into this victim person. So what's happening in the high chemistry and force zone? The dopamine, yeah. Why are you not giving this to me? My body wants you to do this. You used to do this. Why are you not doing this? And oh, you didn't call me on time. There's a lot of intensity. There's a lot of addiction. There's a lot of dependency and adrenaline. So you're not even yourself. You're in constant fight or flight almost. your nervous system is activated to a high level, and it's a familiar emotional pattern where a lot of your wounding from the past comes in. Plus, there's a lot of projection. Yeah, that's high chemistry force zone. So this has nothing to do with consciousness. In a high chemistry force zone, there is no consciousness. So if you recognize other people in it or you recognize yourself, know that thanks God, this isn't love. Thanks God. Yeah. This has nothing to do with love. Now let's look at the other one, which is high chemistry and power zone. Yeah. So high chemistry and power zone, then we're already no longer in grief, pride, fear, what is it? Desire, apathy, shame, guilt. We're already encouraged, which is I take responsibility. I know that I shouldn't be demanding things from you. I know that I have to regulate myself. I know that I need to work on my mother-father wound and that I cannot expect you to be the end all be all. Um, so this here in the high chemistry power zone is this specific zone here from here to here. And what you see is that a lot of people, because they take responsibility, they go into therapy. Either they go by themselves or they go together. But what I've seen is because this specific zone has four initiations: courage, neutrality, willingness. The initiations are not easy. The initiations, when I work with clients, they are about the biggest resistances and shadow work that you can ever do. Like, I literally can see and feel that people are not willing to go there. But because they know the theory, they work with me to go there. But even for myself, I had to be at rock bottom before I could say, I am willing to take responsibility and to trust life and to trust my wholeness and to trust that the worst of the worst was actually good for me. And I am willing to accept the worst case scenario and the best case scenarios. Those initiations that come to go into acceptance 350, they are not the easiest one. And so, although there is less of a power struggle when two people are here in the power zone, but during those four initiations of a couple or an individual, it is very difficult to actually give so much to surrender so much of your, what is it, trust to another person, because I think really we are wired to blame another person, and that comes from the infant consciousness. So every time we feel something in our body, we're going to look at the lover, the husband, the partner, the boyfriend, the person who ghosted us. And but those of you who really, for the next time when you go into this area where you're wanting to blame another person, see how you can make it all about you. When you really make it all about you, then you're going to be really seeing the initiations in another light, and you will notice that it actually, when you go through the initiations, just looking at yourself and not looking at the other person, you're going to create so much insight and light bulbs around your individuation process and your power than in comparison to when you are trying to let the other person change so that you can feel better. Yeah. So what I see, and from all the wisdom that I've gained working with clients and also looking at myself and also looking at how Elle was transforming that time. The initiations here in the four, before we go into the receiving zone, have nothing to do with somebody else. And so when we're in a relationship, especially romantic relationships, and we're talking forever about the husband, the boyfriend, the father, the men, the women, I don't know. When we keep talking about all these other people, we're not going to get there. And this is really why, when Elle and I were doing the work, we only looked at ourselves. These men or these father figures or these archetypal men that were there to show us, they were there to show us, to mirror to us where we had work to do. And I understand that a lot of you are here, you understand this because you already understand that reality is a mirror. And that when you understand that everything is your mirror, even the most painful relationships, even the relationships where you feel really betrayed and you think, whoa, what was that about? If you can even take responsibility from a place of creative power and from an identity of I am an infinite creator, when you can take that responsibility, then you are going to see that as you take that responsibility and you integrate these lessons and you embody this consciousness, you are going to get closer and closer to your soul. And your soul is not doubting your worthiness. Your soul is not doubting your creative power. Your soul doesn't doubt that you have a soulmate. Your soul wants you to align with its consciousness. Yeah. So when we then expand, we are going to go from what I call, from the force zone to power zone to receiving zone. And your soul is about wholeness. Your soul is about I am the mind of the universe. I am creating beyond time. There is no time. So imagine that when we're here in the self mastery and initiations, we're still trying to make this other person do something. You can see right now that that is not what life is about. Life is about creating our own life and then allowing other people to do whatever they want and to come from such a place of wholeness that when you are feeling that wholeness, you're going to activate so much love and miracles in your embodiment of your alignment with your soul that the miracles and the people that you attract from that level of wholeness is so different and so beautiful and miraculous compared to you trying to make this other person in therapy or that left you or that you have a break with try to mold them so that you feel better. Yeah. And I can share this with so much clarity because I've done it. I've been here trying to control other people for a long, long time. And it doesn't work. And it will not. Actually, if you do that too often, you will boom, go back into what I call victim consciousness. And this is really what Elle and I understood. When people are here in the self mastery and they're trying to come from a place of, but you have to do this. Why aren't you doing this? Boom, we go into victim consciousness. So this is where you can get off the wagon and you're not going to go to the receiving zone. And this is why there's so little people that can actually go here to this beautiful place of like alignment with your soulmate level consciousness, being a mirror to your wholeness, and then attracting love from that wholeness. Most people go back to basically the red flag zone, the invisible red flags, and you can only be in the invisible red flag zone because you are an invisible red flag yourself. Yeah, and we have to be really honest there. So so I realized that in the fourth zone, we have two levels. One level is inward directed. And what I mean with inward directed is shame, guilt, apathy, grief. When I was there, and I was there for a long time, it was all about me. It was me, me, me. I'm not good enough. I need to prove that I'm better. I need to improve myself. And then maybe this person will love me. Yeah. So there, if you recognize that, this is really your inner self-critic. This is not you. This is just a learned behavior where you have inflated responsibility so that at least you are in control. You have to blame yourself so that, this person didn't abandon you because you were good enough. No, you were just not masterful enough. So you need to work on yourself so that this love can come back. This was where I was for a very long time. So when you're there in this inward directed focus, often you have a very horrible self-critic. You have either internalized things from parents or from your culture or from some kind of demon, some kind of ego, like, in Kabbalah, they call it Satan. You're listening too much to Satan. Satan, your ego is not your friend. And when we are in shame, guilt, apathy, and grief, we're listening to Satan. And I really, If you understand that the ego is Satan, then maybe you wake up a little bit. But often we think, oh yeah, I have to self-motivate myself and be a little bit harsh on myself. No, it doesn't help anybody to listen to ego or Satan. Yeah. It keeps you down more than anything. And we can have classes, in-depth classes about guilt, about shame, about apathy and grief, because they come in so many different hidden ways to actually bring you down. But I don't want to go deep into that, because it's quite depressing. But when I teach it in the private community that I'm running, I'm gonna try and relate it to movies and songs, so that we don't get depressed, but that we get like, oh yeah, I was there when I was like in that relationship, and I'm not doing it anymore. So I really know that I don't want to teach it and depress everybody, because literally we are talking about a very charged subject. So I want to make this light so that we can come from a perspective of distance and maybe a little bit of mirror neurons, so that we think, oh yeah, I can see that, but not go boom into that self-shame of, oh yeah, that's me. Yeah. So I'm trying to avoid that in the way that I'm teaching. So also in this fourth zone, you also see, of course, this person who is completely obsessed with love. Yeah, this is the fourth zone because you don't have a lot of awareness. You're just projecting. So the next level is the outward directed focus. Look at fear, desire, anger, and pride. Fear, desire, anger, and pride. People are not even looking at themselves. They're looking outside of themselves. They're living, looking outside of themselves. And of course, they're still seeing their own projections or mirrors of their own consciousness, but they start blaming. It's all about looking for something outside of them, blaming somebody outside of them. Somebody did this to me or is not doing this something for me. Um, and it's always comparing and competing. So this outward directed focus feels more powerful, but it is just as destructive. And especially in pride, a lot of people in the self-development communities are stuck in pride. And I know this because the release technique where I was a student for many years, they told us that pride is a hide, and pride is where most people get stuck because you feel good there. But in pride, you're still having this measurement of I'm better than you, or this person is better than me. And so it's not really about seeing the not appreciating people for where they are in their journey. We start to lecture people. We start to feel, oh, there's not enough spiritual men out there, or all the good men are taken. Pride and scarcity consciousness go together. Yeah, that was like a big insight I had. So the people that really say there's not enough men, not enough good men, or blah, 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 not enough spiritual men, or these men haven't done the therapy or whatever, you're in pride, and you're only going to be able to be a match to those type of archetypal figures. So when we really go into the class, we can really see how people get themselves stuck. Although they feel good about themselves, they look down upon other people, or they have a lot of resistance towards certain types of people. It will keep you stuck in pride. Yeah. So where do we want to go? Yeah, we want to go to what I call the power zone, which is where you take responsibility, but that's not the end of the journey. We want to go to the receiving zone, because there are people out there that are really living a beautiful life in the zone of genius, in the zone of alignment and trusting the universe, and even the difficulties. They just always seem to land in the right place. So what I've seen, and I think that a lot of you will resonate with me, is that a lot of people that do the spiritual work, they come to what I call this loving consciousness. They're really feeling uplifted. They're feeling one with the universe. They're like super invested in, I want to work on myself, my spirituality. But as long as they're not attracted to anybody, they're in like, I'm just focusing on myself, they feel really good. But they're not here. They're not here, not in the high attraction zone. They're here. They're closing themselves off for people that could trigger all these chemicals in them. And they're just working on this. And what I know now, and I really believe this, You create a huge, amazing neural network here of spiritual love, divinity, union, unity consciousness. But if you haven't worked on this pattern here, which is, oh, where's my soulmate? They have this relationship. I can see they have this relationship, but why don't I have it? There is still a separation with them being able to have it. So what I see is a lot of conscious single people. They've done all the work. They build a rich inner life. They manifest their amazing job, their amazing houses, their financial freedom. They have their tribe going on. They found peace, meaning, and connection. And they don't need romantic love anymore for their self-worth. But do they really believe that soulmate love is available to them in that area? They sort of say, I'm not sure it's for me. And I was there, of course. When you listen to part one, Elle and I were there. Even though we believed in infinite possibilities, in the area of love, we had seen so many difficult things, although we worked on ourselves for all our lives, that we thought maybe it's not for us. Yeah. So this picture, if you're here, you're in the right place because Elle and I were here. And the thing is, we did not accept that this level of consciousness force is where we would end. We knew that we wanted to go here somewhere. We, and of course, we were here in the self mastery and initiations, but we wanted to be in the receiving zone. So even though you're wired to feel, I'm not sure, maybe it's not for me, you have to know that that is not the whole story. There is much more to come, but you will have to do certain things in a different way so that you can experience it. So what did we do? What did Al and I do? Instead of just like thinking, oh, we know it all, we started studying again. We started studying ourselves. We had each other as accountability partners. We started studying healthy relationships. We started studying victim consciousness. We started studying soulmate. What is a soulmate? What is the consciousness of the soul? What is love, and what is it to take responsibility? What is it to stop projecting that, Elle, for instance, always wanted surfer dudes. In the interview series, you're gonna hear it, and you can hear us laughing very loud because she thought as long as I have a surfer dude, I'm gonna be super happy. And of course, she attracted a lot of surfer dudes. And for me, it was more like, yeah, I wanted a very financially successful man that can spoil me. He needs to have homes here and blah blah blah. And of course, I attracted that, but was that the whole story? No. So actually, we really had to clean up our expectations about what really matters to us, and also all the things that people do in healthy, long-lasting relationships that people who have never experienced it don't really have a clue about. So we had to study. But we didn't just study. This is important. Al and I had responsibility. We were running an accountability mastermind. And in the accountability mastermind, you become the scientist of your own life. That is what we did. We became the scientist of our own life. We didn't say we're just going to study and know it all. We knew we had to put it into practice, but we didn't do it by ourselves. We did it with accountability, and that is the structure of some of the groups I run. Not all of them, but only for the hardcore people that really want to transform. We run the scientist labs, the being the scientist in your own life labs, because this is where you have to change. This is where you will have to really start to implement what you know instead of just studying it, knowing it, and thinking, yeah, maybe one day I'll do it. No, you do it now. And that's what we did. And this is the only way that we could change in such a short amount of time. The step where we knew if we were the scientists at one point, we would achieve this thing, what we call alignment. And what is alignment? And this is deep truth. This is where we were, right? We were so in love with the universal laws, the infinite vastness of infinite possibilities. We were in love with this concept. We were manifesting left, right, and center, except in love. And we knew If this was possible in other areas of life, including winning the lottery, including winning, like we had people come to our workshops that manifested Maseratis without having the money. Like we were, and another person manifested this amazing building as a practice in one of the high streets of a big city without having the money. So we knew there is something about reality creation that we have to hack, and we are going to do it no matter what. We weren't super hopeful. We were almost doing it as a game, just manifesting soulmate love. So we weren't even attached because maybe we were too afraid to not get it. But we were playful enough. And then at one point when we did it, I think we stumbled upon playfully stepping into alignment instead of manifesting it from, I have to prove it to myself that I can manifest soulmate love. We were so afraid to be disappointed that we had to do it as playfully as possible. And that is how we realized that actually there are certain steps that you have to take to become this one, to have this oneness of mind and alignment with unity consciousness. And unity consciousness is that we are consciousness, and everything that we can create, we have to just align with it, become it, as Dr. Joe Dispenza would say. And becoming it is not intellectual. It's not a knowing. It's more of an embodiment. An embodiment is all about habits. And embodiment is really understanding your default ways of being, the way that you automatically have certain interpretations, certain triggers, and breaking those habits over and over again. And so when we did that for love, we created a whole program called Micro Alignment Habits, and we taught that before in our previous classes. But yeah, so this is what we did. We knew that if we could manifest all these things in the low chemistry, no chemistry zone, we could also manifest it in the high chemistry zone. We knew it, and we did it because we were the scientists in our own lives. So this is how we broke the trap from go being here in therapy land and then boom, going back into the force zone and saying, oh, it's not working. We had to really go through, we had to become the scientists in our own lives and prove it to ourselves, but we were very playful. So in the high chemistry and receiving zone, it's calm and alive. You don't have anxiety. You feel a deep attraction. Sometimes when you see these old couples and you see them like being at so much peace and so much admiration for each other, and they have this humor with each other, this is it. It's like sometimes you think, oh my God, I want that. And I always felt like, oh, I'm not sure I can have it. But I now understand that Elle and I could only do this 5 years after we manifested our relationships. Why? Because I think we were deeply skeptical about whether our relationship would last. And so it was only in 2025 that we were having lunch and on my birthday, and we were talking about how far we have come and that we thought, what is going on? What did we do? Because our lives is so different from the women we were when we were manifesting all these wishy-washy men that we blamed for everything. And who are we now? And so, when you really understand that there is a love that is stable, mutual interest. This person is deeply invested in you. This person has your back. You don't have to chase, you don't have to earn. You can even have a temper tantrum and they're there to hold you. And it's not because they were trained as a therapist or a coach. They just do it automatically because they are your soulmate. You had a contract with this person. When you really want to attract this deep level of mutuality and support and unconditional love, we have to first become it ourselves. And so the high chemistry in the receiving zone is, this is why we call it, yeah, coming home to yourself. And really, because first you align with your soul consciousness, which is you understand that you're safe, you understand that you're loved, you understand that what you want wants you and it's looking for you. And you understand that you don't have to do it with drama. You don't have to do it with a lot of therapy or a lot of self-flagellation. You don't have to obsess about it. It's already done. This is why our program is called It Is Done. It is already done, It's the order is coming up, You just have to relax and chill. And it doesn't come with fear of loss, like Elle and I, it's not that we don't have difficulties with our men. It's just that these men don't make it about make or break. They expect things to be there, and they expect us to weather the storms together. Yeah. So, and I know that a lot of families that we originally came from don't have this blueprint, and this is why we cannot trust it. It's so difficult to trust. We've seen the opposite, the opposite. When things happen, you cannot trust this person. This person is gone. Or they said A, but then they did B. Yeah. So I know that it is very easy to look outside of ourselves, but I can tell you, when you want to master becoming in alignment with the consciousness of your soul so that you can attract that soulmate level love, we have to align with the truth of who we are. And the truth of who we are is not looking at somebody else to change so that we can feel good. It is just about us. So again, what is soulmate level love? Don't cry soulmate too quickly. That is what Catherine Alice taught us. Don't cry soulmate too quickly. A lot of people say, oh, it's my soulmate, but then they left me and now I'm waiting for them. No, that's not your soulmate. That's your karmic teacher. Yeah. If they come back and they stay for the rest of your life, yeah, then I'm proven wrong. They are your soulmate. But a lot of the time, people cry soulmate too quickly. Love flows. You don't have to force it. You don't have to wait and convince them. It's safe. Yeah, it's not unsafe. It's not unstable. It is safe and it's stable and it's even predictable. You don't have to change a lot. They love you the way you are, even if you're super wounded. You have a soulmate contract with this person. So yeah, they're gonna come and actually help you heal. That's what I experienced. That is what Elle experienced. And these men, again, they didn't have years of therapy. They're not like people that have studied all the psychoanalytic books or whatever. They just have that in them. Yeah. So you feel chosen and you choose them and you can see how much love they have for you, and it's never in question. And the relationships support your growth, peace, and joy. You're not fighting, you're not trying to compete with each other. That is soulmate love. And it is there for everybody. For everybody, there is a potential. And so it's easy, it's mutual, you cannot mess it up. If you have a problem, it will easily get resolved. It feels relief, there's no tension. You are wanted as you are, so you don't have to look more beautiful. You don't have to do Botox. You don't have to get a breast implant, or I don't know what. You don't have to do any of it. They will love you as is. That is in the books of Catherine Ellis. I love that. They love you as is. She comes from the south of America. She sometimes has these southern accents, and I love it. So not a lot of people have experienced this, and I will ask you, how many soulmate loves have you seen around you that are driven by wholeness? Why do they look so happy? Why do these people stay forever? Don't they get bored of each other? No, they're whole and they found this kinship, affinity of mutuality and appreciation for another person based on wholeness. If you really are going to look beyond what is creating this attraction, it is wholeness. Wholeness in themselves and wholeness of the other person. So as long as our nervous system is in survival or lack, we're not going to be a match to it. So we have to do the work. Let us inspire ourselves to do the work. So it doesn't mean there's no attraction, doesn't mean it's boring. There's still attraction, there's still a desire, but now it's based on wholeness. It's based on I am worthy, I am loved, I'm chosen. My soul wanted me to experience this, and my soul wasn't going to let me off the hook until I become a vibrational match to my own soul. So you're only working with yourself. You're only working on yourself. You're not trying to prove, convince, manipulate another person. you're just working on yourselves. And this is also when I was talking about all these clients of ours in the appreciation game when we were running the relationship edition, that all these relationships suddenly turned around with in-laws, with colleagues, with with husbands that wanted to divorce people, people that hated their husbands for 19 years. All of these relationships changed within 1 month. And we were like, what is going on? And it was just because people were stopping this blaming game, this you have to change. It's tit for tat. I do this, you do this. We taught them exactly what Neville Goddard and Abraham Hicks were teaching, and also the release technique were teaching. Everybody is you. You work on yourself. You work on your own alignment. Some will stay, some will go, some will leave, some will transform. And this level of high trust in your own creative power and that everything that happens is the best for you, that is what transformed all these difficult relationships. Yeah. So we've even had, as I said, some people said that the family completely changed. We're talking about there were at least two people that said, I didn't divorce anybody. Even my parents didn't divorce, but my parents are different. And even a person said, my whole family is different. My children is more different because I'm different. So it was really beautiful to see that. And we even have the recordings of those testimonials. So yeah, so basically, I think a lot of the people that are going to be listening to this, you're probably stuck here in therapy land or just looking at yourself, or you're stuck in the no chemistry zone where everybody is a friend and you're just like working on yourself and you're not even looking at the high chemistry zone and what could happen there. The good news is that you don't have to go from therapy land into the, the I cannot do it, there's no hope. You don't have to stay here in the no chemistry friend zone and just working on yourself and thinking, oh, love is not possible. This is absolutely possible. High chemistry and receiving zone. This is absolutely possible. The good news is, of course, you don't have to manipulate everybody, anybody. You only work on yourself. And we really, this is what Elle and I did. This is what our clients did in the games that we ran, and we saw a lot of people change things around here. And so, um, if you're here, you're just looking at therapy or self-mastery. Maybe you say, okay, I actually want to be a scientist. I want to find out whether this is possible. You know, consider signing up for the It Is Done Love School community. I wanted to make it as affordable as possible. So it's 88 euros per month, excluding VAT. Cancel anytime. Every week there is a new class, one teaching, because this is I don't want this to be about overload of content and you just no and you actually don't figure anything out. I want people to actually do the work. Yeah, so we're not going to give like a 1 hour masterclass so that people like, oh my God, what am I hearing? And then literally you just do one assignment a week, a small assignment, and there is a reflection for the group there, and then there's a live Q&A. So that is how I will run it. So, and literally what we'll do is from month 1 to 3, we're just looking at the patterns, all the different types of patterns that are invisible. From month 4 to 6, we really look at, how does that attract you? How does that make you a lover? And how are you attracting or magnetizing certain archetypes into your life? And which shadow archetypes are you not working with? And this was the first class I ever taught when I think in 2012. So I still have the testimonials from that. So it's very interesting to actually condense it again in this material. 7 months, 7 and 9, we're just going to really look at, what are the initiations. And probably by that time, you will have already changed a lot. But it's really about changing a lot of your habits and really understanding, going out of victim consciousness and really saying, I'm taking back all my power. And I'm really going to do it in a way that it's all about me and I'm the one that's responsible. And then in month 10 and 12, you should be embodying soulmate level love. You are absolutely understanding how you're creating reality. Why is reality created by you? What is attraction? What is magnetism? What is wholeness? And what is reality creation from the soul, from a place of absolute unity with the blessings, miracles, and the gifts that you are here to give to the world? Yeah. And this is one, my two favorite words, prosperity consciousness and unity consciousness. It's like a lot of the time we live in lack consciousness. We focus on problems. We don't focus on, oh, but if there's a problem, there must be a solution. I just have to embody the frequency of the solution. So when we're trying to, you see 12 months here, but I will try to weave experiential with awareness to experimentation and being a scientist into the program. And at some point of time, I think probably after 2 months or so, I will set up the accountability group, which is another program which is much more in depth, and that is for certain people who really want to take it up another notch. But yeah, I need to first work on this because otherwise I cannot finish it. So this is what the program will be for at least 12 months, but of course it will keep on growing. What this conscious community will help you do is you stay aware, you know all the different patterns. What I think it will help you with is you will no longer be hijacked by chemistry. You will be able to catch it before it just overtakes your whole nervous system and your body and your fantasies. And you will be able to pattern interrupt your autopilot default patterns. And you will be able to consciously recalibrate your focus and your identity and your the love and the gifts that you have to give to life. You don't, because when we're in the fourth zone, we are giving so much of our power away. It is so painful. It is so difficult to be there. So, who is it for? You want to see your patterns without analyzing yourself to that and being in therapy for the rest of your life. You want consistency. You want one drop a week and really a very thorough self-reflection and being able to see that all around you and think, oh my God, wow, this is like very universal. We're going to work on a universal archetypal level. It's not personal. So don't think, oh, do I need to be like unveil my soul to a community of people that I don't know? No, we're gonna see it as patterns of the collective. And this is why it's gonna be fun. I think it's like Netflix plus personal development, something like that. Maybe it's a little bit like Mind Valley, I don't know. So this is what I'm gonna create. I can show you a little bit of what I've already done. So this is the community. So if you go to the community, I have started uploading a lot of my old classes. These are the classes that I actually, all the classes that I taught together also with Elle. Yeah. And then some of them are for the paid membership. So a lot of them are for free. It's a free school community, but there's a premium community for the $88, 88 euros per month. And that is for people who pay. So I started uploading all the different classes, but I have to finish it because I want to take people on a journey. So I really have to think about how do I build it up. So here, if you join, you can watch all these things for free already. This is a very important class. How do you recognize the victim in your life? You can see that we also ran classes for business. It wasn't always relationship. I work with the quantum field. We talk about victim trance states. How do you know that your consciousness is offline? So this is like, for instance, where week one, week two, and then I need to really upload all the slides and create all the right teaching material, the right videos with it. So I think this will be ready around third week of February. Next week, I will be teaching about the anima animus. And so I hope that that will be very inspiring. If you want to know more about the school community, this is the link of the school community. It's here. School.com relationship intelligence slash 1403. I will share it in the video. Once I share the video on YouTube, you can click on the link or you can message me. So I hope that that was very insightful, that how to go from here to here. Yeah, we don't have to we don't have to repeat the pattern here. So I hope that I didn't give too much information. If you have any questions or any comments or any insights or big aha moments, feel free to comment. Thank you for being here. Hello, do you have any insights? Did you learn something? What did you learn? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I can hear you now.
So, um, I really enjoyed again this lecture.
A
And
lot of visuals. Yeah,
yeah, a lot of visuals, but also a lot of recognition of what you were telling me. Um,
because
and
it's universal.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, and of course, like the pattern recognition. Well, I know that I am in the same pattern as what you used to have. So
We
it's
had similar
very,
fathers, maybe.
yeah, well,
Similar father archetypes. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
um yeah, it's so good to hear it again and realize again in what pattern you are. Even when I do see that I I can already see it happening. So that for me is like a big win because I'm realizing it already, and even without having talked to you. But this makes it so much clearer.
Yeah. And then we haven't even discussed the anima animus because then
Exactly.
it's like, oh my God. And you're reading the book. I already told you to read the book, but you can see it everywhere. You can see it in movies and you think, whoa, these people, they're not even in love with each other. What are they saying? Why are they so desperate about love? This is nothing to do with love, you know? Then you think, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's difficult because those chemicals, they really hijack people. I
And
mean,
that for me is new to dive so deep into the chemical part. Of course, I know like
the dopamine part,
the
because everything
superficial
is
part I know, but the one you couldn't pronounce, I had never heard of it.
because nobody can pronounce it, nobody is teaching it.
I had never heard of that one. And it's like,
Uh,
oh my God, to see really what it does, that's really like, okay, then I can also see at the event which had just happened, which I told you about already.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I can relate to this. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Very interesting. So yeah, it's really very insightful. Thank you.
We Hinda and I had a lunch and we discussed a lot of different things, but you also received a very beautiful sign in your dream. So when you start to work with this material, dreams will come. And I'm having a lot of animus dreams lately. And I will tell you, because of what's going on in the world with all the negative masculinity, the dark masculinity. So the Jungians say that your dreams will balance you out. And I've been like, my Facebook is flooded with negative stuff, like really like belly churning, like I want to vomit type of stuff, right? And so in my dreams, I keep meeting the innocent, holy, divine, masculine that's much younger than me. And I keep seeing them in my dream. And then I wake up and I'm like, no, I still love my husband. Oh, thankfully, this is not about me wanting somebody else. This is me. My psyche is helping me balance out
Mhm.
the darkness of the outer world with actually also, hey, Angelique, don't project, don't get this, don't let the negative animus, the negative masculine, entangle you. So
Mhm.
my angels are guiding me, but my intention is for all of us to actually, when you join this group, everybody is going to have these dreams, and and I've done 10 years of analysis of really the most beautiful dreams of subconscious mind coming up to the surface to analyze. and they're so profound. And you know it, your dream was very profound. And
Mhm.
and I told you about my dream, but now again, because of what's going on in the collective, and hopefully I feel that, although we're not working on politics or economic systems, I think even if we can transform this inner awareness of the masculine doesn't have to be the betrayer, the cheater, the liar, the perpetrator. If we as women can work on that, and the men who have had abandoning mothers or people that betrayed them, if we can all heal this inner masculine, feminine, and see love in a different way, what a different world we would be. We wouldn't have traumatized people, leaders, and
Exactly.
people. So we're
Yeah.
all doing our own part. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm so excited to actually look at movies and to see all the stuff, all the archetypes. Like the way I used to have a secret blog just about movies because I was a headhunter and I couldn't really let them know that I was always also studying as a Jungian analyst. Although I never finished my Jungian analysis studies, I was in it for 10 years. And I was really, every time I watched the movie, I just saw all the different archetypes representing the whole. And
Mm.
I could really see how certain archetypes, they have this crazy magnetism towards each other, but then it's so painful. And it's because all the other ones are excluded. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. And yeah, I'm gonna get it ready, and I hope that it will be very experiential. And I know that more people will join, and I will see what I can do to make it as fun as possible. Do you agree that it should be a bit more like universal archetypal instead of personal? Because sometimes personal can be so painful and shameful, I feel.
Well,
Imagine, yeah,
I think it's both. I think a mix would be nice because if it's because the archetypes is one thing, but people also want to connect with the real person, and
yeah,
that's
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah. But
because
what I
you
mean,
have lived it. So
yeah,
like a part of the personal experience with the archetypes, which we see in the movie, I think that would be nice because the movie is also the fun part and also relational, but it's still fake.
yeah, 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 true. Yeah,
And then we know it's a dream. We know it's a dream because it's a movie.
yeah,
And
yeah.
we need to have the real examples of real life to really believe that it's actually possible to change. And in a movie, everything is possible. So that's kind of easy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What I actually want to do is I know a few what I would call soulmate couples from the Tony Robbins community, because because I've been in that community since I think 2012, and these people have been together at least 14 years, and I've seen how these people really treat their wives or how they stay together, how compatible they are. I want to interview a few of these people.
That's nice
Yeah,
because then it
because
gets real.
yeah, exactly. We're talking about the nitty-gritty stuff, like what were the challenges? You don't have to give me the dirty details, but how do you resolve challenges? Um, it's like what I always learned from when you want to understand swimming, you don't study the drowning. So I want to study the people, like of course I can study John Gottman, my dear husband. He literally has all the books from John Gottman on his nightstand. And he's always like, when are we going to read the book together, Angelique? I'm like, I had to create this funnel. I don't have time. And now I'm the one that doesn't have time to study the great books. But yeah, I really, just instead of reading a book, I actually want to talk to people and invite them as guests and talk to them and learn from them. So I'm inspired and
That's very nice.
yeah,
I think that's a very nice idea
yeah,
because that is giving you the idea that it's really possible to change, and to attract the right person for you. Um,
yeah, 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 yeah,
um, and and movies are good to learn with, but then you want to have like the final result has to be a life, a
yeah,
real life result,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
will not find that in a movie.
Yeah, and if you look at me, right, I really love, for instance, Tony Robbins because he really came from such a yeah, difficult background with his
Yeah,
mother
yeah.
being very abusive and, having no money, like literally couldn't, he had to have a little candle because he couldn't pay the electricity bill. I really love that, I really love the people that have overcome themselves because they're, for me, they are
And
the,
more than that,
yeah.
for him, it's really more than overcoming himself, you could say.
No, he started creating, right? Like,
Yeah,
if you listen to what he says, the habits that he has, they're all about I don't listen to the feeling. So if you're talking about the force zone, he doesn't let the force zone take over. And this
mm,
is what Dr. Joe says, you don't let the servant become the master. And but a lot of people let the servant become the master. And the servant is the body, is the unconscious program, is the negative voices, it's the trance stage where you feel, oh no, I don't feel like it today. I'm gonna change tomorrow. Let me blame this other person. These are all these invisible habits that are from, I would call temper tantrum 3-year-old in us. It worked then when I was 3. Well, it didn't work because my mother still thinks I'm a difficult person, but so no, this is really where change is possible. And it's not even difficult. It's just that I do feel because if Elle and we really delve deep into why did we change, we had enough. It's exactly
what do you want to say? What we had enough?
it's what Tony Robbins says. No longer, not one day more will I go into
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah. You had
pattern.
enough of it, of your current situation.
I
Yeah,
had to put a stick in the sand. Like I am not going back there. I'm burning the boats. I'm never going back to this behavior or this experience. I've just had enough.
yeah,
Enough is enough. Both of us were there, and I think if you are getting too many gains, too much needs met, if you get a lot of your needs met through this addictive behavior or the crazy eights, you're not going to change. And in the higher group that I run, the mastermind, those people are, because I do it by application, these people will not even get in because I know that they're not going to get results because you need to really be in a place where you think, I'm so sick and tired of myself. Of course, you're sick and tired of these other people, but if you understand that they're a
yeah,
mirror
yeah,
of
yeah.
you,
Of
then you have to
course,
say,
know
I
that it's
don't want to
very,
go
very
there
fast.
anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So thank you so much for being here. And next
Thank
week,
you.
Animus Anima. Oh my God, I have so many movies that I can talk about. It's so amazing. But I try to keep it to the people that are very conscious because I think that those are the people that are watching my content and they've done so much work and why are they still there, And then I have to talk about like why I was stuck for so many years, because and of course we all have our animus, our idealized animus, or as I want you back, millions of other people know I want this person back, and then they disappear, and then it's the same person in another body. It's very interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah, that's a subject I'm really looking forward to because
Yeah.
that's something I don't know a lot about. We talked about it a little bit, but that made me really interested in hearing more about it. So I'm
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
looking forward to your next episode.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm going to
Thank
upload
you.
this and I'm
Thank
going
you
to
so
work.
much.
Oh, thank you so much for encouraging me.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to see that, that people can really feel your transformation. So I love that feedback, Also
Yeah.
last week with another Tony Robbins peer, they've known me for so long. I dated one guy in the Tony Robbins community that didn't work out well, but it wasn't like a big drama because I took responsibility. I had panic attacks. I broke up with him because I had too many panic attacks. So even if you're with a very conscious person, sometimes this body stuff can really wreak havoc because thought I don't have panic attacks when I'm not in a relationship. So I have to end this relationship.
Hmm?
And to be fair, I did everything to get out of the panic attacks. I really didn't know how to get, I was doing all tapping, I was doing hypnosis, I was doing NLP and I couldn't get out of the panic attacks. It wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
He was just a temporary teacher. And so I also have examples of two people who really love each other, who are very conscious, and one person just has these things overcoming them and it doesn't work out. And we also have to see the perfection of that, you know.
Well, that everything is a gift in the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To learn more.
Lots
Thank
of
you so much.
love. See you
Thank
later.
you.
Talk to you
See you.
later. Bye
Yes.
bye. Bye
Bye.
everybody. Bye.